call, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. PSR is excited to present to you Last Call, featuring your boy, the Pimp Slap POD, Mike M.
We are live, and you are here. Let's go, Billy Bridge. How you doing, Dutch? What up, brother? Bouncer, what's up, brother? LJ from the HLJ.
Mike, man, happy to be here, man.
T on the ones and twos, -7.5, the official number we'll use, and the lines move 2 points. And this is not a show to be late for.
And now, let's get to the picks.
We be pumping! The Last Call, Pub Sports Radio. You found us. We're here, and we're ready to rock and roll. Shout out to Mike Kendall giving us that glorious voiceover there for our introduction. And my guy T back there on the ones and twos, getting it all tight and right. You know the deal here. It's Last Call. We're going to have a great show tonight. And you guys know the situation here. We're going to break down each of the big sports rocking and rolling tonight. And we want to give everybody an opportunity to get in. I know getting out of work, getting dark earlier, got to take a little slower on the ride home. So we want to make sure everybody has time to get in here and get rocking and rolling here. So going to be a fun night. It's our boy C-Mac making his show debut. And, I was loving when I reach out to my boys and they're like, yeah, man, let's do it. So it's like no arm twist and the guy's ready to roll, came prepared with plays. And we're all trying to cook these books. And I think he's got the looks for us to get that done tonight. So excited about what we have coming. And can't wait. We're going to start out with the NHL. It's a small NHL slate. It's Wednesday. The NHL makes way for the big boys in the NBA to get it done. It's a big college basketball slate as well. I already see you guys there in the chat talking about some of the last-minute injuries, and that's what this show's all about, right? We all put our heads together. We compare our notes, and we try to come up with those winning angles to get us paid, fellas, boys and girls, everybody dropping in here. Shout out to everybody in the chat, rocking here right off the hop with us, 6 p.m., Monday to Friday. It's Last Call. It's Pub Sports Radio. You know where to find us here. Perky Sanderson's out there. First guy in the chat with a comment says, can't decide Memphis or Vermont tonight. Memphis Center is out. That's definitely a point of contention. We'll talk about that in college hoops. Wine Time Sports, my guy, Wine Time. Appreciate you showing up. Nasty Nate, Mr. Trifecta in the house. No Celtics for him tonight, so we'll see what he has for us for some looks out there. Tongue-Tied 89 says, we be pubbing. You're damn right, Tongue-Tied 89. We be pubbing. MFers, let's go. Let's keep it rocking. Strategic Investments in the house. Whose intro's better, SNL or Mike's? Let's go, Strategic Investments, my guy. Appreciate you dropping in here, giving us his looks while he's living his best life down there. Sunny, hot tubs, bikinis, cocktails, everything you could want. Our guy's doing it up down there. J Smooth 16, let's do it, money, MF. Mike, you got it, my guy. We're going to do it tonight. I feel good about this card. Unlucky Charms. Guess what day it is? It's hump day on Lucky Charms. You know it, baby. It's Wednesday. We're halfway through this week. And what a better way to get us moving towards the weekend than a beautiful card trying to get us all paid tonight. RVD 420, what up? We need to pimp slap the hell out of the books tonight. I agree, my guy. Dylan, Ahmed, Dylon. Dylon spits hot fire. He's out there in the chat. Ian Sharber, shout out to the shout out, Ian. Shout out to you, my guy. Joseph Thompson's got some looks for us out there as well. Says Wisconsin, Green Bay, SIU, Edwardsville, over 128. He's got a model. It says it's got 10 points of value on it. We'll write that down. We'll keep our eyes on that for our guy. The pen's out to the paper. You guys share great looks, and I want to make sure that I'm a part of those winners. So no one's winning without me. Damn it, let's go. I want to get in there with you boys here. And I want to get to the window just as much as everybody else here. Let's keep it rolling. Chosen ones in the house, of course. Perky Sanderson says, UMass, the bookies got this line wrong. We'll win. I like that UMass spot too, Perky. I thought this was kind of a weird spot. Maybe it's because of the lack of road presence that UMass has had, but I like that spot too. Nothing official for me, but a spot that I jumped in on. And Perky says, Super Max unloading the bankroll hump day with no one to hump. POD is UMass -2.5 for 5K out of our guy Perky. We know he makes big boy bets, and he's blessing us in the chat. Chosen one's got the Mavericks first quarter -3.5. And there's our boy Justin with the stacks. POD. He's on the Pistons +112, sporting a 110-107 record. Appreciate you, Justin. Thanks for bringing that goodness to the chat for us. Perky says, cheers. Let's go. I got you, Perky. We're going to go, baby. All right. North Thunder likes Detroit Mercy +1.5. They win their first game tonight. All right, I like that angle. I like trying to get a team that's kind of been cellar dwellers coming out there, getting it done. Tongue-tied 89. Canes short dogs tonight in Edmonton has me looking. We're going to talk about that game as well. It's a 4-game slate, so of course we're going to pop off and start with hockey. I know a lot of you guys like that. So, has to be the first UMass spot. There's our guy, Mark Schillenberg, out there. Gave us a big winner last night, cashed all over the place with that Vancouver spot. He had the first period over. That thing was sweat-free. I think it was like over in the first 2 minutes of the game. So shout out to you, Mark Schillenberg. And here he goes with some more action for us. He's got the Orlando first quarter and first half. He likes Cleveland in the full game as well. Interesting looks from our guy, Mark. We know he's been cashing at a high rate. So, yeah, we see it. Dylan says, let's go Oilers. Appreciate you, Justin, man. Appreciate everybody dropping in here. There are so many good spots in CBB tonight. You know, I had a monster card, and I started having to trim it down, and I was thankful to see our guy C-Mac coming in here with some of his looks as well, because I don't want to just hang out there in the wind on my own. I want to get everybody paid, and I want to see what some of my boys had to say about these games tonight. And I'm not against talent. Winning cappers breed winning excellence, and that's what we're here to do tonight. So let's get this thing rolling. We're 70 plus. You guys know the situation. We need you to do 3 things. 1, get a pen and paper. You're going to write down lots of winners, not just from the panel, but the chat as well. 2, make sure you hit that thumbs up and that like button on YouTube. And 3, drop your plays in the chat. You guys got great angles. We all want to see them. Let's make sure that we get this cash together collectively. We will beat these books as a unit. Justin likes that West Virginia +4. I know C-Mac's going to talk about that game for us. And J-Dub loves Memphis tonight. I know I believe I saw our guy Dabby Cab on that Memphis side, first half and full game from the Jimmy the Bag show today. So shout out to the crew. Shout out to everybody. You know the deal here. We're going to start this thing off and we'll do a recap. Then we'll jump into the NHL. I believe the second order here is the NBA to dig through this card and then jumping into college basketball. So we got a lot to talk about, a lot to cover. You did not want to be late today. When we get these large cards, you know, we dig deep and we still seem to have that volume that keeps us moving in the hunt here. So let's talk about this hunt. You know, yesterday, 5 and 6 day yesterday, still hanging on to that 21.5 unit comfort spot. Not so comfortable. Want to get this thing to move it forward here. We've been kind of dangling around this back and forth for a couple of days now. And it's time to put boots to ass on these bookies. So, you know, we'll start this thing off. We'll talk about this Rangers game. Rangers out of that game right from the get-go last night. Big loss for them. But we did catch that Detroit Red Wing spot. Nice little spot against Buffalo. They went up 4-0. It got a little sweaty, but they came through with a 5-3 victory. And how about them Sharks? You know, I shared with you guys yesterday the angle for me when I get a +1.5 and it's plus money. Of course, I want to jump in on that when it makes sense, and it made sense for the Sharks last night. Tied it up 4-4 going into overtime. And then they come through with the +260 overtime winner. We had a little sprinkle on that. You guys know my strategy. I like the +1.5 for a full unit. I jump on that money line for a half a unit if it makes sense. Not all the time, like a +700. I don't know that it makes sense for a half a unit. Maybe that might be a quarter unit, but you know, those are big numbers and we don't see those very often. So the Sharks got it done for us. And then the Minnesota Wild, great spot for Minnesota. Right from the puck drop, they did not look back and they beat them up real nice. Hey, how about our parlay? We got that nice little 3-leg parlay last night there. We took LA. Woo, that was sweaty. They went down early and often, but they came back, they fought, and they got the victory in overtime for us. We had the Predator spot again, another spot where they had to come back on the Blackhawks. And then Colorado, that was, you know, it was interesting because depending on how that Nashville game turned out, you didn't need to really watch that Colorado spot. And, you know, we pulled Colorado back because of the Makar news. We did not take them at the -1.5. That ended up being an unofficial play or a lean, but they did get the money line for us. They won that game 4-3, and we cashed a nice little +225 3-leg hockey parlay yesterday. Boy, Michigan Wolverines. Boy, I mean, they just do they stink? Is that the deal here? I mean, I thought hot school, hot program. They were winning that first half, and then they just couldn't get the job done to close the game out. They lost on their court again. Now 3 losses in a row to the Indiana Hoosiers. Providence let us down there. They closed the gap to 4 at halftime. And then I started watching some other games, and all of a sudden I look back and they're down like 20 points. I'm like, geez, that stinks. And officially on the poop list for us here, it's the shit list now that we're 8 minutes deep. St. Mary's -16.5. I don't want to miss out on winners with St. Mary's, but I'm tired of taking losers on them. So we're going to put them on the back burner for quite a while. They were stomping that game. They were up like 25, 28 points. And then you could just kind of tell that momentum after the second half tip-off went down there. The lead just kind of started dwindling, right? They went from 22 to 20 to 17s to 15s. And it was it was just one of those things you could tell it wasn't going to get there for us. The Bucks first half got the job done, and then we closed it out with double losers. We had the Suns money line and then the Eric Gordon over 12.5 points. It was a plus money shot for Gordon on his point line, and it was clearly at his average spot. So take that stab at it, but it still was a loser. And the Suns, that phantom foul with 7 seconds left. I think our guys T and Billy were right on the mark with the Lakers being the team that everybody wanted to push forward. Maybe they don't do shit when it comes time to the playoffs, but for this in-season playoff, they needed this big focal point in the Lakers and that giant media market to get the job done. And they did get the job done. So it was some terrific live line spots with that game, but just disappointment. Even with like 2 minutes to go, they were still showing a minus 1.5 or minus 2.5 for the Suns. And then they came back from a timeout and the Lakers just put it in gear. And then again, they got that phantom timeout at the end. And that put the bow on the day for us there. Not the way you want to wrap it up, but you know what? You wrap up a pile of shit, it's still a pile of shit. And that's what happened there with that Suns game. So let's get rolling, though. We got a big card to cover for you guys tonight. You know the situation. We're going to start out on the ice. Get your skates laced up. Put the tape around the ankles. Get the tape on the stick. And let's get ready to talk about a little puck. So full disclosure, I think I butchered this order up tonight when I sent it out to our guy T, and I realized that as I was doing some prep for this thing. So we got time to get through it. No big deal, but follow the card here because this game is a 9 p.m. Eastern start. It's this Vegas St. Louis game. And it's a little bit of a rematch spot here. It's a little revenge rematch spot on top of that. So we've got, the Thompson's in net for the Vegas Golden Knights. He's sporting that 6-3-3 record. And probably the story here of the last month has been Jordan Binnington starting in goal for the St. Louis Blues. We've got 2.33 goals against average, 91.9 save percentage for Thompson, and the 286, 91.4 for Jordan Binnington. Now, I talked to you guys about this the other day. There's going to be another angle that we capitalize on this for tonight. But the spot that actually took that loss for us the other night was the Pittsburgh Penguins, the revenge team. When you're the home favorite, now you're on the roads as a favorite. In the season, you're 5-14 and 268. So I broke that down. I looked a little deeper and I saw that's a 14-3 trend in its last 17 games. That was that change up with the goalies, bad goaltending performance from Pittsburgh. And look, I think it's a Vegas spot tonight, but where I wanted to go with this one for me was I see the numbers at minus 160. I'm not too excited about that. I know it's a revenge spot. I might think about this Vegas in regulation spot, but big deal here. Favorites when they're lined in that minus 120 to minus 170 spot. We talked about that before. Remember when Vegas expects you to be the winner, they're 117 and 76. That spot won for us last night with the Detroit Red Wings. And now here we go with Vegas again tonight. But a couple numbers that jumped off the page for me. When you're previously won 15 or more faceoffs, now you're the home team. And you played either New Jersey, Edmonton, St. Louis, or Montreal. Off a win, you're 18-4 to the over. Also, we talked about this before. This is that previously played in Vegas spot. When you're coming back home after a game in Vegas, you're 35-8 to the over. So whatever it is with that Vegas, everyone gets loose. They have a little bit of fun. Maybe it's sloppy defense that contributes to it. Home dogs on a Wednesday. Home dogs are in a 6-1 run to the over. The last game was just an under, so it was a 6-0 spot before that Detroit and New Jersey game. All this led me to taking the value on this plus money spot. I should say it's even money. Let me just do a quick bit of line shopping out there. I see the 6 and I see it at even money. I'm going to take another shot at it. We had that over 6, I believe it was the other day. Did not get there for us, but I know Vegas has been kind of struggling. They've been winning some games after they had a nice little losing streak going there. They were finding the net at a nice clip, and then they kind of stopped. But I'm going to ride back with the numbers because we've seen it's got such a high winning percentage for me that I don't want to fade it at this point here. It's been winning for me. We've been cashing on it, and I see there we go. Kelly V says to us, Vegas 7 of 8 unders lately. Yeah, they've been an under team, but again, I think that has a lot to do with the challenges they have. So they had that little mini break there, if you will, and they're back on the road now. And I think it's a good spot for them to come out here with Vegas. At plus money, 5.5. I would rather take the 6 and have the push and play. We talked the other day about the overs. When they're 6s, the overs have been hitting at over a 60% rate as well. And you got the push factor in there. So kind of get the double dip opportunity. We'll take the shot at the even money. If we don't get there, then worst case scenario, we fall back on a push. And I think that's going to be the number here. Maybe it's a 5-1 game. Maybe it's a 5-2 game. I expect Vegas to get the job done, but guys, 100 deep on the chat already, and we're just kicking this show off. So if you haven't done so yet, please do me the favor, hit the thumbs up button on the YouTube video. Helps us a ton. we got this big ship to turn around, and it's a small harbor that is this 6 o'clock window Eastern, and it means a lot for you guys to help us drive this thing forward. So let's talk about this next game we're going to get into. You guys know on the right-hand side, there's Dylon says over 5.5, minus 135 for him. Yeah, I was thinking about that, but again, the ROI factor, if we get to 6, do I take the push instead? I certainly would rather pay up a little bit of juice for it, but not in this case tonight. So you guys know the situation. Right-hand side of the screen, you'll see the games that we're going to cover. It's a 4-slate NHL window tonight, so we're going to talk a little bit about all of them, have looks in every one of these games. So let's keep it rolling. Let's talk about this next game we're going to get to. It's going to be this Pittsburgh-Tampa Bay spot, Pittsburgh at Tampa Bay. And it's kind of the battle of these starting goaltenders now. We got Yari back at net at 8-8-2, and then Vasilevsky at 2-3. So I was pretty critical on Vasilevsky to start the season off there. He had that lower back surgery, and he's been trying to find his form. They stuck him in there against St. Louis, and they comfortably won that game. That wasn't over, by the way. There was a St. Louis over there. I think it was 8-2 was the final score. Then he played Colorado. He kind of took it on the chin a little bit there, but just had a big shutout against Dallas the other night in a spot that I believe we were on Dallas, and he came to form, and he looked pretty solid out there, shutting out a Dallas team that's been scoring 3+ goals in 5 of their last 7 games. So there was a big spot there for Vasilevsky to turn it on. Pittsburgh on a 2-game losing streak. The thing about this one is it's going to be a test for Vasilevsky, because as much as Pittsburgh's losing, it's because they're not scoring. I know that sounds pretty, rudimentary, but they're shooting 33.5 shots a game, and that's 3rd highest in the NHL. They're just finding some good goaltending, and they're taking some poor quality shots. So I'm hoping that's the situation with Vasilevsky. Previously, when you've got a team that won 15 or more faceoffs, now they're the home team coming off a win. They're 18-4 as well. Just a couple of spots that look to me like, do we see goals tonight? I'm not so sure about the goals. I see the bigger numbers are on this under. We're starting to see, though, the public's banging away in the under, I should say, but the smart money's kind of coin flip between the two. So at the end of the day, for me, I'm going to take a shot with this Tampa Bay position. I thought that, we've got Tampa Bay with Vasilevsky trying to find form, 55% of the bet, 65% of the cash on this Tampa Bay spot. And I think it's the right look. I think we're going to find good goaltending out of Vasilevsky. I think Pittsburgh's going to still struggle to find the net. If you look at Pittsburgh's last, they scored 1 goal against Philadelphia the other day. They lost to Philly 4-3. So they're on those back-to-back losses against a subpar team in the Philadelphia Flyers. So they did just beat Pittsburgh 4-2 they did just beat Tampa 4-2 in Tampa. So they're kind of rounding they're gassing the jet back up. They're shooting down there again. And I think it's a good revenge spot for Tampa to take it back against the team that just shut them down. So, we know that they did shut out Dallas 4-0, and that was the back-to-backer with Dallas after they played Dallas and lost 8-1. So we see when they've got revenge on the mind, evidence in that Dallas game that Tampa's willing to get the job done. And I see Tampa at minus 130. That's how I'm looking to get to the window on that NHL game. Let's keep it rolling. Next game up on the docket, we got Dallas and the Florida Panthers. And here's another little tricky spot for me. I did end up making this one an official play. I did go to Dallas. It's Ottinger versus Bobrovsky. So when I started off the day here, I was looking at the officials and unofficials in terms of confirmation and net. Now I'm looking back at this money line. I see that there's a lot of cash coming in on the Stars, but if you look at this Florida Panthers side of things, the money line is shrinking for the Florida Panthers. So they are suggesting that this could be the job or the spot for Dallas. And do I expect there to be a high-flying goal-scoring game here? I don't. I mean, if you look at Dallas and Dallas's last several games, they're kind of just not finding the back of the net themselves. Now, they did win 4-0 or 8-1 against Tampa. Then they lost that 4-0. They played on the road in Calgary 4-3, but they shut out Winnipeg 2-0. So they're kind of the yin and yang team where they can go on the road and they can pick up W's or a low scoring affair. And then at the flip side of things, if you look at what Florida Panthers are doing, they're in the same spot. They beat Ottawa 5-0 on the road. They lost to Toronto 2-1. They beat Montreal 5-1 on the road. That was kind of that gauntlet of the Northeastern Canadian teams that NHL teams schedule in their mix. Then they play back home against the New York Islanders, and they lose 4-3. So is Bobrovsky the guy? I'm not entirely sure that, he's certainly playing well. 11-6-1 on the season with a 2.41 goals against average, 91.2% save percentage. Flip side, you got Ottinger 10-5-2, 2.53 goals against average, 91.5% save percentage. So it's a pretty coin flippy type of game. And I'm going to go with the team that's got that motivation to go out there and get the job done here. They're still kind of stuck down there in Florida. You could be stuck in a lot worse places, but at a +1, what do we have right now? Plus 105's out there now on DK. So plus 105 is going to be the number. We're going to make that official. Is it plus 105 now? I always want to be held accountable to it. I'm looking at a dashboard that's showing me some of these numbers. So let me take a peek. Let's jump in and look. Dana dealt. Not going to diminish it actually would help make me like it even more if that's the case. But no, I see plus 105 on DK. Plus 105 right now on DK. Dallas Stars. Give me them Stars. Maybe you're looking at the other side. I'm not sure. But nonetheless, I'm going with the plus 105. I see it right there on the screen. Plus 105 Dallas Stars. That is going to be the official play. And the last game that I'm going to talk about here for you guys in the NHL, keeping a brisk pace. We got a lot of college hoops, got a lot of NBA to get to. Our guy C-Max about to pop on here with us. We're going to talk about this Edmonton Carolina game. I think I reversed the trend. I was all messed up with these numbers today. But when I looked at this one, I've got Ranta in goal for Carolina. I've got Skinner in goal for the Edmonton Oilers. And again, kind of a spot where, is it coin flippy? Maybe. I mean, a 3.33 goals against average for Ranta, 85.9%. Skinner, 3.16 goals against average, 88.1% spot. But I'm just riding with the hot team in this one. Nothing crazy, and innovative here around the trends on this thing other than Skinner. He's going for his 6th start. He's looking for his 5th straight win. So hot goaltender. And we know Carolina can be an under team. They shoot a lot. They're leading the NHL right now in shots per game at 34.5. But what a better way to shut that down or cool it down is than to stick a hot goaltender out there that's confidence is sky high. Carolina has lost 2 of their last 3 games as well. And now you're bringing them on the road. So kind of a suspect number with this line here where I see minus 110s now. So this line is starting to move towards the Edmonton Oilers. I just like what's going on. Ever since Edmonton changed their coaching over, they're outscoring opponents. I want to say it was 27-5 is the number that I saw out there for outscoring opponents. And that just means, we talked about this when it happened. We looked at what the situation was. We saw that they weren't happy with their coach. We saw they brought in McDavid's junior coach out there. And what happens is McDavid starts to call some plays. McDavid was going through a cold slump there before the coaching change. He's kind of popped out of it now. They're finding the goals. They're finding success. And I think they're going to put it on Carolina tonight. So it's a short number for me. Short number probably because as much as Carolina's lost 2 of their last 3, they were a pretty hot team coming into there. But I'll dismiss that hot from the fact that they played Columbus. They beat them 3-2. They played at Philadelphia. They beat them 4-1. Okay. They lost to the Islanders, though, 5-4. They weren't able to, stop a cold in that thing there. They did beat Buffalo 6-2, but it's Buffalo, and they were on their home rink, so they should have beat Buffalo up. And then they lost at Winnipeg 2-1. So now they're starting that gauntlet where they play these teams up there, just like they do in the Northeast in Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal. The Northwest, they play games against Winnipeg, Vancouver, and then Edmonton, of course. So we're kind of in the middle of that little circuit there for Carolina. And I think it's a good spot. Can they come up and be motivated to get it done? Sure. I just want to keep riding the hot hand here with this Edmonton Oilers spot. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to take these Edmonton Oilers. It's minus 110 right now. And you can see when I did the video here, it was when I put the plays together, it was minus 105. So we are starting to see that little movement towards the Edmonton Oilers, albeit not a ton of swing. It's enough for me to feel confident behind it. Not a huge trend or anything to go with other than I just want to ride the hot hand. I like what's going on in Edmonton. They were way undervalued after they went on a terrible streak that got their coach fired. And now they're in position to turn that around and keep it rolling. So that's going to do it for us there. Kelly V says Carolina just beat them 6-3 in Carolina. Edmonton, Bouchard point minus 148. I like that spot. I'm not mad at a Bouchard point. I like what they're doing out there with their defense and the rest. And let's see. Perky Sanderson says alert upon further research. UMass is averaging over 78.5 points a game versus 56.7. I just moved again on UMass -2 for another 25 hundo. This is where we look the bookies in the eye and spit at them. I like it, Perky. I like it. I wish you the best of luck. I want to get in there too. I already took it. I want to make sure I'm on it now that we're really getting into it. So this happens, right? We're in the thralls of this thing here, and we're trying to make this cash. My guy's getting me all fired up for this spot. I want to get back in it and make sure I hit it comfortably and keep moving forward. So let's keep it rolling, though. We're going to talk about some of the NBA to kick this next slate off for us here. We're going to wait for our boy to get ready to rock backstage. And while we do that, again, I'm looking to make sure I jump in on this Massachusetts spot. So I ended up with the money line on Mass. Maybe I will just take this -2 now that I see out there. There we go. Want to make sure I get it in, boys and girls. Sometimes we move past 7 o'clock and then I'm sitting there going, oh shit, all these games started already and I'm out of luck. So let's get this thing rolling here. We'll wait for our guy to pour in. He'll be here shortly. And when he does, I know he'll be ready to rock. But in the meantime, let's talk about these games. And let me just make sure he's good. All right. Let's talk about this first game here for you guys here. We're going to break it down. You guys know we'll start with the splits. We'll talk a little bit about the cash flow. We'll talk about the angles that I've seen on this game. We'll look at some of their records, and then we'll talk about the plays and the official plays that are being made. And you'll see right at the top of this thing here. Let's go, NBA. My system's a little slow today. All right. Interesting game here with this Raptors game. It's a 7:30 start here on the East Coast. It's the Heat at the Raptors. The line opened at -1. It's now -3.5. Kelly V right out there in the chat as well. No Bam, and under series Miami, Toronto. Line moving on the over, but still liking the under. We're going to bring our next guy on here, our guy to make his show debut. You know him. You love him. You see him all over Pub Sports Radio. One of the hardest working guys in the goddamn business. Got a great tagline there. C-Mac. I was hoping he was going to give us the 6-pack tonight, the C-Mac 6-pack. We'll see if we can twist his arm and get there tonight. Let's bring him on. Let's welcome our boy, C-Mac, making his show debut. What up, my guy? How are you?
Mikey, what's going on? Last call. I love it, my guy. Thanks,
Last call, brother. I'm so pumped to have you join us here. I gave you guys the big old stiff arm on Saturday, so I appreciate you working with me.
Hey, I always write. I like I wrote you. I'm like, no worries. We were there. Don't worry about it. And I don't hold it. And anyone. So,
dude, because
we'll be busy, and I hope you don't hold it against me. We got shit to do. Yeah. So, it was no big deal, brother.
For anybody that doesn't know, I text C-Mac. I was like, yeah, I'll be on shortly. And then I got up, I took a shower, I grabbed a cup of coffee, and the room was still spinning so bad I had to go lay back down. I was like, oh man, this is bad. This is a bad spot to be, and that's not how you want to start your Saturday. So it happens, but it was because it was a glorious Friday. So hopefully we can find some glory tonight, C-Mac, and get everybody cashing these bets. So I know you got a couple looks in these cards as well for us. And I started off with this Toronto spot, but I'll kind of read the splits over here and then kind of turn it over and tell us what your thoughts are on the games that you do have looks on here. I know you indicated this was one of them. I said the line opened Toronto -1, now -3.5, 70% of the bets, 89% of the cash on the Raptors. And then as far as the total, 53% of the bets, 90% of the cash on the over. It's moved up 7 points from the initial opening spot there. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, let's go right to my bet. Since I don't have a bet on the side, it's the total, Mike, and it's the under. I think this has moved too much, and it might not be that popular as it's already moved. You talked about 5 or 6 points, but I think this is too much. And lately, the Heat have been playing to a bunch of overs. You talked about Bam being out. You went through that. The last 3, but 2 against the Pacers and the Bucks. So how can you, really go crazy? With those teams? They're full on just over machines. But back to these two of my favorite teams. I love to look at an under. Solid defenses on both sides here. 2 teams that don't play fast. Heat are around 24th, 25th, and Raptors right now around 16th or pace, but it's still early. But you don't think of the Raptors going up and down. So I had to be on this under. I was going to stay off the side in this one. I wanted to touch on one prop. I thought the guy with Bam out, since he's been back, Jimmy Butler, has had a few huge games. I'd only be on his over 25.5 points. It's a little there, and it's there for a reason at 25.5, but I think he's got to be the guy. I'd lean to that. I didn't pull the trigger on that prop, 25.5, but give me this under. I think we've reached too high. I got 220. I like the little bite back here in the last 30 minutes. At 219.5. You gotta be on it. I see some bricks and slow play.
Yeah, it was a weird line for me. I hate to just read it as simply as the line, but I that's how one of the ways I got there in this one. I was looking at it going it started at -1, and then there was that big movement. I know Bam's the big factor behind that thing, but you got a team in Toronto, they're home, Miami's traveling, And what a just a weird spot for this number to be at 3. It's almost like, do they know something that everybody else doesn't? Neither one of these teams is really crushing it when it comes to their net ratings on the season. We've got the Raptors ranking 22nd, the Heat ranking 20th, but I saw Toronto. Toronto's in the 13-1-1 spot when they're at home if their opponent's going home the next game. So I'm going to ride that hot number. I'm going to ride that 13-1-1 at the -3.5. I like your under as well. Let's keep it rolling. Let's move on. The next game on the card, we got a brisk pace, as our guy Pete Loshak says. I know you know the brisk pace. You're spending those Tuesdays with our guy Pete. So
Pete, he keeps it just ripping, on those games. He's like, I like this, I like that, I'm back to this, and I'm like, all right, Pete. But hell yeah, you got to keep the brisk pace. Shout out to everyone in the chat before you hit him here, Mike. I got to give our props to the peeps real quick. Trisha and Jay Peasy, as always, North Ender, Trey Day, my guy Trey Day. It's good to see you. Dan Kelly, as always, Ian Kelly, under series. Yeah, once it got up 220, I had to be on it. So I agree. But shout out to everyone, AOD, everyone else. Appreciate you guys. Let's roll.
Yeah, and we know that Toronto certainly can stay. They get cold at home. No pun intended on the cold Toronto temperatures. But Miami on the road, sometimes they get those bricks going too. They're certainly a slower paced team out there. So I like it. Let's go. Let's talk about this next game. We're looking at the Sixers and the Wizard. Line open at -6.5. Now 10s and 10.5s out there. 86% of the bets, 81% of the cash. And then the total we see open at 237.5, and it has moved up. It's up to 240.5, 84% of the bets, 94% of the cash on the over in this game. And it's moving. But I guess the question is, has it moved too much? I mean, we know what the Wizards are, what they do and what they don't do out there. Any thoughts for you on this one?
I didn't. Do you have a bet in this game?
I do. I ended up going with the over.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I didn't see it. You have it right above my head. No, okay. I agree with you. That's what I was going to get to. Wizards can't stop anything. Some of these teams like this, like, just take the over. And I don't blind. I was going to ask you real quick what was the team totals, but when you like them both, it just gets over. And look at these numbers as of late when I was going through this earlier. And 2 over teams. Sixers have been a solid over team all year long, as you know. They're 12-6, and Wizards 12-7-1. So I don't mind it. And I looked at the Wizards here. I can't do it. I just couldn't do it. These are sometimes, I love to take a dog in the NBA here at home. It was a thought, but I had the same thing. Short dog here. I don't know. We'll get to it. Pistons, couldn't go with them either. Just not winning games. It's tough to take them. They don't need to win here. Pistons kind of do. It's only 2 points, but yeah, I don't blame you though. I like it.
I was looking at the Sixers spot with the back-to-back losses on the road there to the Pelicans and the Celtics. Like that's not a spot you want to be at if you're sitting there in the Wizards right now. The Wizards are 34-8-1 to the over if they're at home off a road game, and they had between 2 and 5 days of rest as well. And they're sailing over their numbers. So even though the average line is 240, they're still going over by 8.5 points. So the fact that I see a 34-8 spot, I see the cash is kind of aligned. It checks all the boxes for me. And you said that the Wizards aren't playing D. And, the thing is they're not playing D, but they're still scoring, right? 128 points against that loss against Milwaukee, 108 against Atlanta. They got 126 at Detroit, 120 at Orlando. And then the back-to-back game with Orlando, they put up 125. The flip side, the Sixers put up 119 in a loss, 114 in a loss, but they beat the Lakers 138. They got 127 against OKC and then a 99 spot against Minnesota. So I was feeling it.
I was going to say, I missed the boat a little bit, but even there's still a few 241.5s, a lot of 242s. I still think it gets there.
Yeah.
I think it still gets over.
Yeah, I see an official number I'm going to take right now. It looks like it's 240.5, and that is on PointsBet. So PointsBet 240.5. Jump in where you fit in there, as our guy likes to say, and maybe that's a good spot for a live bet, depending on what this first quarter does. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for live bet spots there in the chat. If this number's gotten away from you a little bit, then certainly there is that opportunity. Let's keep it rolling. Next game, I said to the chat earlier, C-Mac, before you jumped on, I said my order was all screwed up today. I was trying to find the spots. I was trying to sift through gold and trying to find them nuggets for us, but as they kind of came to me, I didn't recalculate the order. So we're a little out of order, but we'll fight through it. I mean, hell, we were on Gun Show. That guy is at. We're starting at 10 a.m., then we're at 10 p.m., and then we're at 2 p.m. So we'll make it work here.
Yeah.
well. Next game we're going to talk about, though, we're going to look at this Denver Clippers game. The Denver Nuggets, LA Clippers. The line opened at -1. We've seen a dog to a favorite type of thing and vice versa. 44% of the bets and 53% of the cash on the Nuggets. The total has opened at 224.5 and has shot up to 227.5, even 228.5 out there. 48% of the bets and 55% of the cash on the over here. C-Mac, did you have any thoughts on this game?
I didn't. I don't have a play in this one. This right away, when you first look at it, I go, and I haven't bet the Clippers much all year. I'm like, they're playing a little bit better. I still don't want my money on them. Maybe this is a good spot. And then as I go through everything, I'm like, I agree with you. Yeah, not that I'm rushing to Denver. I don't, I know you're on it. I hope you get that cash. And one thing, the Nuggets, when I was going through it, have just owned them, just whipped their ass. I forgot what it was. I think they've won like 7 or 8 in a row against them.
Yeah,
8 in a row, 9 of 10, Mike, the last couple of years. Just beat downs. And until this Clipper team really starts to gel, and I don't know how much they are. This is an older team, obviously. Right. Now with James Harden. But I like it. This is a play I might move on later. I just didn't love the Nuggets. I like to hear that you're on it, though.
Yeah, I was thinking that the number is kind of strange, maybe because of the Gordon factor out there for Denver. But, Joker's back. He's not messing around. He's out there. He's doing his thing. He plays the game he plays. And I think it's a spot where they do hammer him down there. We know that they have the confidence playing against the Clippers. And, the Clippers, as much as they started sluggish after the James Harden thing, they got some of it together. And then they just took that loss to the Kings, on the road as well. But I just didn't think it was a good spot for the Clippers here. It felt like, just to me, when I see the numbers are moving in that direction, I certainly love to be a part of something. When you flip it past 0, like the books, in my opinion, opened up Denver as the favorite for a reason. And I think there's just too much hype and buy-in on what's going on here. Conference games as a home team between the threes, right? So when the lines between -3 and +3 after back-to-back spread losses are 25 and 44 as well. Big numbers supporting a shot with Denver in that spot. Home favorites off a win when their opponents shot between 110 and 120 points the last game, 8 and 24 as well. So there's a couple of big supporting, I love my trends, some supporting numbers to kind of push us in that direction for Denver as well. Buy low spot. I don't know why we're buying low, but I'm buying low. I'll take advantage of that thing.
I love them, Mike, because I always have them and see them, but I love it. You spit them out so fast and so good. So that is your deal. Real quick, and is Murray going to go? I think Gordon is going to go. Does anyone have news with that? With him?
I think I meant to say Murray and or vice versa there. So
well, Gordon's probable. I think he's going to go with his heel, but I just don't know about Murray here. Does anyone have any info yet?
I don't know if anybody in the chat does, or T, if you can surf for us there while we're doing our thing. Yeah, Mel, with the season ending, we've taken a little hiatus there. We had a couple of things change up a few weeks back. We haven't had a chance to get back together and reconnect on it. So we were giving you guys some nice football spots early in the season, but okay. Markel says Murray's not playing.
Yeah, that seems about right. Okay. Which
makes sense why the line is where it is, right? And does one player?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a guy that can go out there and put up 25 points, but we'll take. I'm gonna take my shots. I like it. I like the plus money spot that I'm taking on. If you want to take I would rather take the money shot than the plus 1.5, because I don't think it comes down to that singular basket there at the end of the game. I think it's going to be, I think there's at least 2 possessions that make the difference in this thing, and I think Denver should handle them. So time will tell. That's why they have to play the game. Let's get rolling. Let's talk about the next game we have on the card. Big docket tonight. I kind of segued between finding gold and talking about the Nuggets, and somehow in between, here we are. We're talking about this Golden State Warriors game. Portland Trailblazers at the Golden State Warriors. Line open at 11. It's shot up to 13. 61% of the bets and 72% of the cash on them Blazers on the total. We got 94% of the cash on the under. It started at 224. It has moved up 2.5 points. So we've got 226.5s out there now. A ton of cash coming in on that under, given the circumstances with this game. Any thoughts?
I had nothing. I want nothing to do with this game at all. Like Portland just struggling to score. That's why where this total is. But Golden State, it seems like, should get 125. Can Portland just get 105? Like right around there? And I lean to Golden State covering. Even with them at home, I don't really want to lay 13. I think they win this game. But if they get there, then this can slip over. It was just one I want nothing to do with.
Yeah, that's kind of. I made it. It's a lean. I was going to go official with it at first, and then I started kind of second guessing. And maybe I shouldn't second guess myself there. I was just thinking about Portland though, and like, what kind of pace does Portland push? They're struggling to get to the 110 mark. You know, they did lose 113 with Utah. They got 103 against Cleveland, 114 against Indy. You know, but that Indy game where Indy's been ripping the overs right off the face of the planet here, still was a 124. They're a line of 140 and a half. And they put up 114 in that game. So that was kind of beating their season average in terms of points, but way under the mark of what it should have been from an Indiana Pacers game. The spot that I looked at, something that kind of caught my attention that suggested a play on Portland. I can't get there with this. It's a lot of points and it's a later game. So maybe with cocktails flowing, I will. But when you have a team that scored 45 points or less in the first half of the previous game, the over is on a 9-2 stretch in its last 11. It's 26-17 overall to the over, going over by 4.5 points. So some spots there that would suggest the over. And I kind of thought about that and thought, you know, here's a team that really didn't have their shooting figured out that last game. They've been on the road, so it kind of makes sense. They got 4 straight road games in a row, right? Milwaukee, Indiana, Cleveland, and then Utah. So kind of an interesting look for them there. But I had to backpedal off it. I just couldn't pull the trigger on a team that just doesn't get that number. And then what motivation does Golden State have to push it, right? If they're out there and they're beating them up real good in the third quarter, everybody starts coming out. And that's kind of what the line suggests to me with the 13.5. So no sense to belabor it. Let's keep rolling. Let's talk about this next game we have. Brisk pace for everybody in the chat. We're trying to get everybody to the window.
No Grant real quick on that game. Yeah, no Grant. And already that's not good with a team that doesn't shoot it well. You are just hitting on it, Mike. The Blazers.
More reason to be concerned about that total. And, I just don't know. Again, I just don't know what motivation they have to go out there and slap them. Do they need to win this game? It's not like the in-season tournament where the point differential is a factor here. I think the Golden State's motive might be, let's just ease back into this thing. Let's get it rolling. And there's Eric Jones says 3-12 under spot for Portland tonight. So, conflicting spots. Whenever they conflict like that for me, if it's a lean at best. But next game we'll talk about here. We'll move this thing back up the scale. My fault entirely here. 7 p.m. spot, Memphis Grizzlies, Detroit Pistons. Talk about a strange number, right? So we open at -1. We're at -1.5. 58% of the bets, 51% of the cash on the Grizzlies. The total starts at 218.5. It's up to 220.5. 71% of the bets and 86% of the cash on the over. And it has moved. So maybe some of the sharper money or some of the bigger bets are thinking that we're going to see some points here. C-Mac, do you have any looks on this one?
I don't. It looks like Rose is probable in this one too. I just wanted to double check. And Williams, and it looks like Bagley's good for Detroit. You know what? I haven't bet the Pistons in 3 weeks or so. And all they've been doing is losing. It got crazy. Memphis too. I might have bet them once or twice this year. Started to get a few wins. The game against the Jazz, they had that win against Dallas. They just lost to the Suns by 6 or 7. And this number seems short. Is it showing something? I mean, 2 awful teams. And not crazy awful, though, ATS. I mean, both are about 9-11, 8-11. But I just don't want my money on anything in this basketball game, side or total.
Yeah, I was originally kind of in that arena there thinking the same thing, but they can't get the number right for Detroit. I mean, you look at what's going on there. Not only are they losing, they're just not covering. So, Memphis on the other side of things, I was pretty critical about Memphis, but it's almost like the books after the Ja Morant stuff is kind of settled down and they're starting to see who the team is. It's almost like the books, they want to get a little cash on Memphis because everybody's just automatically fading them. So I almost feel like we're getting some buy low spots on them. When I saw this one here, if the team's playing in Indy, Phoenix, Detroit, or New Orleans. So sometimes I track these team spots, right? What's going on with these teams? Oh, yeah. And so when they're playing in those particular arenas, those home teams are 16-33 straight up, 14-34 on the spread. I just looked at it at the end of the day and I said, you know what? I'm going to take Memphis here. I just think Detroit stinks right now. They're neither one. We talked about it. Neither one of them are barn burners. 5-14 Memphis, 2-18 spot for Detroit. But I'm going to kind of put my money with where some of those bigger bettors are going there. I think this is a spot for Memphis tonight. again, time will tell. They're all 1 unit plays for me, so it's just a spot and saying I think Memphis can pull this thing out over the course of the 60-minute hop, and I don't know that Detroit's got the capability when push comes to shove to go down deep and dig and fight. So Memphis, I think, might see this as a game they can win, and their motivation should be let's go out there and get this W.
You talked about the whole thing with Morant, and then Adams goes out for the year. It just took a little bit of time. They're like, man, this is who we are, right now, and it took a little bit. Memphis starting to win some games. It just seems a little bit too easy, but sometimes it is, Mike. So
yeah, sometimes that's the old, our guy Billy Briz talked about that last night I forgot which college game it was, and he was like, maybe this team's just better than this other team, and this is the way it should be. And then they ended up kicking the shit out of him, and I was like, wow, that was a great call from our guy Billy. He didn't have it as an official play, but he just said maybe it's one of those games where I think it was Georgia. Was it Georgia? Georgia Tech maybe was playing yesterday. Anyhow, doesn't matter. I digress. Let's talk about. I know we got some of your spots here on the horn for us. Let's keep it rolling, and let's queue up this next game we have for us here, because I definitely want to hear some looks on. This is a game I was close to getting to the window with. We're I don't know if we missed it, T, but I got it for us here. The first game we'll talk about here is the Hornets and the Bulls. I know that was a spot you were looking at. The Charlotte Hornets at the Chicago Bulls, and early morning lines kind of were interesting numbers for me here. It looked like a lot of cash was looking at this Bulls side of things here. I saw, let's see, let me pull it up. Let me scroll down. The Hornets opened at +3.5. It's now +5.5. 51% of the bets, but 31% of the cash on them Hornets. And the books are seeing all that money coming in on the Bulls and thinking, okay, maybe we go that direction here. The total opened at 219.5. It's now 220. 59% of the bets and 59% of the cash on the under for marginal movement. C-Mac, take it away.
Yeah, I'm off the side total here, but I'm on a player prop. I'm on Kobe White over 18.5 points. Levine's out here. He's going to be out for a little while longer. His minutes were already solid, like 34, 33. And now the last couple of games, he's playing over 40 minutes a game. He's getting 40, 45 minutes. He's getting over 40 minutes a game. Like, he's scoring 20 points. That's just it, especially with this Bulls team. He's out on the floor that much. There were 17.5s, but it was really juiced. I got the 18.5 at -105. I think he gets 20 here easy tonight. So I'm on Kobe White over 18.5 points.
Love the look. Sometimes when I'm not committed one side or the other, that's the spot, right? Just give me let me touch this game. And I love those numbers. I love the minutes you're talking about, the correlation between the two and the point spread there.
And Charlotte,
right.
They've been horrible defensively. They've been horrible to guards. They've made up a ton of points. Just bad all year. It all lined up. I got to be on it.
Yeah, and the Bulls aren't afraid to go over 110 points in scoring. So I like it, and especially given some of the sit news out there, who else is going to get the job done? It's got to be their go-to guy there. I love it. I love the look. I like that. I like the low juice look on it as well. So next game we're going to talk about, and then we're going to get you guys over to some college basketball here. Is we got this OKC Houston game. Man, I struggled with this one. I'm so glad to see that you got something on this one for us. We got OKC open at -1. It's moved a half a point in their direction, but albeit 56% of the bets, 39% of the cash is on the OKC side. Then if you look at the total, 74% of the bets, 65% of the cash on the over, line shot, but it's pretty much sitting at that 225.5. C-Mac, take it away.
Yeah, this, I think, should be a really good game. I'm excited to watch it. And two teams that I've loved backing this year, and they've made people a ton of cash. Thunder 14-5, Rockets are 11-5. And I know they're back home here. It's a little tricky after the bad trip. They stumbled. They lost those 3 on the road. Now they come back home. But this is where I want them. They've just been money at home. They're 8-1. This is where they've been winning. So I had to take them here. As much as I'm a big Thunder guy, and I can see the flip side. People think this could be cheap for the Thunder, but I had to go with the Rockets in this game. +2. I don't mind the money line as well, right around +115.
Yeah, that was kind of. I said this before. I like OKC in a dog spot. When they're in a,
of course.
as soon as there's a negative or a slash in front of their name, I want nothing to do with them. So I love.
And now that's more prominent, Mike, because they're a better basketball team from the dormant of the last few years. They're going to be starting being a favorite a lot more. So it's kind of changed the cap of this team where we love taking them the last 2 or 3 years or so as a dog.
Dude, they were getting like 10 and 12 points a season ago and 2 seasons ago, and it was like they were just cashing. They were one of the most profitable teams in the NBA. You could just almost blindly take OKC. But now we're not seeing that. Now we're seeing it's the opposite side of things here. And every time they're laying points, they seem to struggle to cover. So I like the look. I'm gonna rock that. I'm gonna tell you on that one there. I like that. I wanted to get some action on that game because I think it's gonna be something that makes my TV. So
shout out to Londo. Rockets too at home, been a good first half team. So I don't mind that play.
Yeah, I know our guy LJ from H-Town loves that first half rocket spots there. I see him on those quite a bit. You know, he finds a way to hammer and execute on those things, and very, very rarely does he get let down. So yeah, I like that. Shout out to that first half look. And I know I saw our guy Nunya has the Nunya Business Play of the Day. It's a great segue for us to transition into college hoops. He's got Play of the Day, the Nunya Business POD on Bryant -7.5 at Siena. Interesting spot there. We're going to cue this thing up here. We've got quite a few spots to look for in college basketball for you guys tonight. And, we'll just we'll move quickly here because we're getting close to the 7 o'clock window for you guys. But
let's rip it.
Oops, my system just did a little refresh as we're moving. As I say, we're going to move quickly. We get screeching halt here. So I don't know if you had anything that you were looking at on this one or not, but Memphis VCU was the first game that jumped off. I saw a lot of action coming in on Memphis -1.5s. We're seeing -2.5s and -3s. 79% of the bets, 67% of the cash on the Memphis side. The total's taking some steam. It opened at 142.5. It's at 144.5. And there's even now looks like 146 is starting to come out there. So we have 26% of the bets on the over and 60% of the cash. But we saw our guy open the show up there. Perky told us the center is out for Memphis as well. Does that sway you one way or the other?
No. Yeah, he is out. Looks like he's sick. Brown is out.
I know it's not one of your go-tos. I just figured I'd throw it out there. It was something that I originally was thinking about taking Memphis, but I don't know. The line movement scares me a little bit.
It did for me as well. And one thing with VCU, though, why they could be in this is because Memphis is still just not very good defensively. Yeah, and the numbers show it. That always now you're on the road as a favorite. But the big thing with VCU, they're not a great offensive team. And the numbers show it. They're just not very good. So in the end, I had to stay off. Like sheer talent, this is Memphis. And they go in there and win this. And I haven't been really high with VCU so far this year. They're 4-4, play better basketball at home. But yeah, I was off.
If I was going to do anything, I would think about the first half. Here's what the red flag was for me that made it a lean and not an official play. Memphis opened at -170. It's the money line, right? We're talking the money line. Usually when you see these tighter games with the 2-point spread type of thing, maybe the story isn't told so much on the money line or the spread because people are going to say, screw it, I'll just add this to a parlay or I'll just take it on the money line. 88% of the bets and the kiss of death, 96% of the cash on Memphis. The line moved from -170 down to -138. Everyone's betting Memphis, and they're saying, we see that money. Here's
the VCU.
Yeah,
that's a VCU.
VCU's, a live home dog, in my opinion, for that game there. I had to back off that one. I didn't want anything to do with that at the end of the day. I was going to get
the tough thing is losing close at home, though, Mike. Like, this is one where you, feel a lot better at, 5. I talk about it. 4 or 5. This, they could lose. They lost, I think it was to Iowa State a little bit ago. They lost by 4, something like that, and they were at home. So, yeah, just too short.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking there. It was the size of the numbers enough to warrant it out. Now, I did make a play on this next game, though. This next one we'll talk about, and then we'll intertwine our boys' action here. I got it written down, and we'll make sure to get into this for everybody that's out here watching. Make sure you guys haven't done so yet. Hit that thumbs up like button for us on YouTube. Help us promote the brand here, Pub Sports Radio. Our guy C-Matt making his debut today. We got Toledo. We got Oakland. And this line opened at +1. Pretty much sitting at +1, depending on where you shop out there. I do see a 1.5 still. It's a little juicy. 77% of the bets, 68% of the cash on this Oakland side of things for the line to be, I don't want to say frozen. I guess it's flipped around from dog to favorite pretty much all day. The total opened at 155.5. It's at 150.5 now, depending on where you shop. 63% of the bets, only 47% of the cash on the over. So some bigger bets coming in on that under. And then again, I look at, here's another one of those spots where we have a tight line. Can we jump down on this thing? 118 is where it opened at with Oakland, minus 118. 69% of the bets, 67% of the cash on Oakland. And now we're seeing a minus 110 out there. So that number's falling. We're starting to see Toledo's taking a little bit of juice here as we get closer to game time. And that's where I ended up putting my money. I thought this was a spot where Toledo's just kind of, Toledo's, they just haven't had a great season to start this thing off. There's no question about it. I mean, Oakland certainly hasn't enamored anybody either. Oakland's sitting with a 5-4 record, Toledo at 3-4, but you start looking at who Toledo played, and to me, it just comes down to, how do these, the styles make the fights, right? Or what they say. Toledo's lost 4 in a row. There's no question about it. But their schedule is against all top 100 teams. So a lot of those were some neutral site losses. They did just obviously come off that last loss against George Mason, probably a fine bloke, but they took that loss at home. Other than that, though, their offense has been showing some signs of success, albeit it hasn't translated to the win sheet yet. I think they got a team coming in here overconfident in Oakland, where the glass slipper is finally about time to come off here, right? They got a 4-game win streak going in that IPFW game, Oakland, and they got slapped. They didn't just get beat up. They were a 5-point favorite. They lost by 21 points outright. So that kind of showed me, wait a minute, what's going on here? Oakland plays to the under. When it's a nighttime game, they're 7-0 to the under, 155 points. So we're seeing this where I always like that correlation where we're going to lay the juice and we're going to see that under kind of prevail here. When you look at this Toledo team, they're 18th in turnovers on defense. They're 58th in adjusted offensive efficiency. And as much as the MAC, doesn't play well against the Big Tens and the SECs, when they play mid-major programs, they play pretty fiery. They're definitely an ornery team out there. And all that kind of led me to say, I think it's a buy low spot. I think we're going to see Toledo turn the corner here. Nothing more than just a gut check for me to say Toledo's a spot. And Toledo, I took the plus 1.5. I still see it's out there. Plus 1.5, minus 120. But I'll just go to I see the plus ones at minus 110. So we'll take that half a point off of there now for line shopping purposes. We'll keep it at minus 110 plus 1. What do you think?
Man, this was a pass for me. It was just a back and forth. I get it. Oakland more of a 5-4 team, just been darling ATS so far to start the year. Toledo, a little bit bad luck, but this team's bad defensively, but now they're not laying points. This is a game I think they could go out and get. You know what? The biggest thing for me in this, you were going at it right there, Mike, is this total. So it's not in the 150s. So I get excited, but then I go, I just didn't love it because everything that I see, if this was a little bit lower, I'd pound the over. If this was 2 or 3 points lower, something's off, and you were talking about it. But I don't know how. Both these teams in almost every category, 300s, 280, 26, they're just so bad defensively. I don't know how both teams aren't in the 70s, right? So I don't. I don't know when all of a sudden the defense is going to show up. A team like Oakland played to a lower scoring game against Detroit, but that's about it. And we know Toledo's just up and down when you go through their scores in most of their games. And we know they want to get up and down, up and down. I'd still, maybe it's a little bit of a trap, but even it's in the 140s. It's right below 150. I think you get over. I just had to lean though. I couldn't make this a bet.
Yeah, that's kind of the same adage I had there. Was the number is suspiciously lower than it should be, but yeah. So I could get there. I ended up with the points. I want to make sure I get this one in for you guys here. It pops off here in just a minute. So Jacksonville UCF opened at 14, minus 14.5, 47% of the bets, 88% of the cash on the UCF side of things. This total's dropping as well. So we got 143.5 down to 138, 49% of the bets, 59% of the cash. I know we're getting right up to the wire here with this one, but I went UCF, just short, sweet, and to the point. I know it's a lengthy point spread to lay out there. Jacksonville, one of those teams that turns the ball over at one of the highest rates in college basketball. And if you play against a team that ranks 33rd in defensive efficiency, they rebound incredibly well. And now, again, we got kind of a buy low spot for UCF, probably more of a sell high spot for Jacksonville. They're on a 4-game win streak, but they haven't played anybody. I mean, the teams that Jacksonville's come out here and played 6-2 with this schedule is very misleading. And the number to me corrects it when you see that 14.5. Big spot to lay. But you look at Jacksonville, 4-game win streak. They beat Robert Morris. Okay. They beat Fairleigh Dickinson. Okay. They beat Campbell. Okay. And then they beat Georgia Southern. I mean, none of one of those games to me says like, hey, we really challenged ourselves and put ourselves to the test out there. So I got UCF at home, minus 14.5. I know that one's about to pop off, so I just wanted to move quickly on that. C-Mac.
I'll hit it quick too. Like the 2 games already against big schools, not at home. They got blasted by Pitt, 107-56. Xavier beat them 79-56. Totally agree. And I kind of agree to the under. It's one of those rare occurrences where favorite and this could go under. You know what I mean?
Right.
This is like 75-50, something like that.
Yeah, I think Jacksonville. I think you're right on. I think Jacksonville struggles to get to that 50 mark today. Right. I think that's very much the type of game we could see today.
Yep.
All right, let's keep it rolling, guys. We're gonna get ourselves to the 8:00 window. I believe gives us a little time to stretch our arms here and make sure that we get this stuff in for you guys. The qualitative, detailed analysis. Our guy C-Max, first CBB game on the card here. He's looking at this Rice-Houston game. Something I had my eyes all over today. Minus 26 number opening, minus 27.5, 78% of the bets, 76% of the cash on the Houston side. It has moved a 1.5. Interesting that it's moved a 1.5 with that giant number out there. So also the total open at 141.5, sits around 142, 142.5, 76% of the bets and 79% of the cash on the over. C-Mac. How we getting paid here, my guy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't love that it's gone up a point or two, and it's all because of Rice. Can't stop anything. That's the only thing that keeps this, Houston maybe scoring in the 90s, and this may be getting over, but I still think it stays under. And I'm on Houston here. I mean, Rice's team total, under 56.5. I have to take it. Houston, number 1 team in the country. Their defense, they should swarm them. They just played, too. Yeah, Houston Christian, it was 65-57. I mean, come on. Houston can't hold them to under 56. And teams like Montana, Dayton, all right, basketball team, they own the 55. Towson, not very good scoring team, 49. Stetson, 48. I see it kind of similar, unless they kind of let the little brother go. But they've beat them up like this before. So team total, under 56.5, Rice.
For Rice. I like it. I can get you 57.5 too. So we'll lock you in
now. Yeah.
Rice team total under. Yeah, I love that look. I thought about the Houston spot, but what I need to do a better job of this year is when I see those big numbers, and sometimes in college basketball you shouldn't be afraid of those big numbers, but I love the alternate look there. When you start looking at the team total and holding those teams down, there's definitely a step down in class for this team that they're playing out there in Rice. They should be able to come out there and handle them boys.
Oh, yeah. And even like the second strings in, like you could look first half. Rice can't stop anyone. And I don't know how they really score, especially if Houston's locked. I don't know how they get to 60.
I rocked and rolled on this next game here. We'll pop into this one that I've got for you guys. And this Omaha versus Texas Tech. A shout out to Peyton Manning out there. We opened at 20.5. 62% of the bets, 77% of the cash on Omaha. The total, 85% of the bets and 99% of the cash on the under. Normally, I don't like to get involved with those 99 spots, but we see it did move from 145.5 to 143.5. And short, sweet, and to the point, I rocked this under. I looked at what Omaha does and what they don't do. Intermittent scoring success. They just came off a game against Air Force where they put up 56. I think Texas Tech's going to hurt these guys. It's just a matter of how many points can they score. This might have been one of those spots where you look at that alternate line for Omaha at 60, or the team total at 60.5. But I ended up jumping on this total. I just went, bottom line, Texas Tech 6-0 to the under. They're under 139 when they're at home versus a non-ranked opponent as well. So they have a lot of success coming out there handling the teams they should handle. At 5-2, I think Texas Tech is motivated to come out here and get the job done. They just lost to Butler. That was a high-scoring affair, though, and I think they got to kind of figure out to get things right. Now, they did beat Michigan on the road, 73-57 prior to that. They were showing that their defense is capable of putting the clamps down when they play a better school. So I like that under. C-Mac, any thoughts?
Yeah, just kind of like the last game. They come to play. This is just like it, I think. And the numbers haven't been great. It's still a little bit early. You talked about the crazy Butler game that went to OT. I think it went to double OT. Did it? Or I don't know. Maybe not. But we saw earlier in the year already, San Jose 42. They can hold these teams down. So I like it. Under.
Let's go. Let's keep it rolling. Let's keep her moving here. Next game we're going to talk about on the card. We've got the Texas Marquette game. Then I know our guy C-Max got Pitt, West Virginia, and Fullerton Pepperdine for a little late night special for us as well. So 3 games to wrap the show up for you guys here. Let's get into them. Let's talk about this first game. And look, the first one for me, it ultimately is just it's a lean spot for me. There we go. There we go. Let's go. Let's change it up. Let me jump in and let me pull that one up. My order's a little out of whack as well. Hang on. Bear with me. We're going to get
good. We're live, baby. Live.
We're on the fly. This is what happens. It's called the pivot, and nobody pivots better than we do. So let's pivot over here. This Pittsburgh, West Virginia game. We have this number open at +1. We're at -3.5. -4s are starting to creep their head in there. 38% of the bets, 59% of the bets on the Pitt side of things here on the road Pitt. The total open at 141.5. It's dropped at 138.5. We have 58% of the bets and 82% of the cash on the under. C-Mac, take it away.
A couple of teams that have just been losing lately. Pitt's lost 3 of 4. Same thing with West Virginia. I think Pitt is the better basketball team here. But, this opens, they jump and this line moved. And once they hit 4, I don't know about that. This is a rivalry here, backyard brawl, basketball edition. West Virginia has beat them 6 straight. And West Virginia has played some close games. They lost to Virginia by 1. I had them, their last one against St. John's, Mike. And I remember that game to feel better. I took the 5. They lost by 6, covering the whole way. The guy hits the last 2 free throws with 2 seconds left. It's kind of like North Texas last night. Those are just, man, daggers in college basketball. Those beats, man, god damn, they hurt. But in this one, I think it's a good spot for West Virginia to bounce back. And West Virginia needs to get to the foul line. They're not a great shooting team. They do turn the ball over, and that's what kind of a little bit was their problem against St. John's. They take care of the ball. I just think this is kind of a dogfight, and I want the home team here in the 4 with West Virginia.
Yeah, I've been back in Pittsburgh. I was back in Pittsburgh early this year, and was it Florida State that they went up to the Garden and they got rocked by? Was it Florida or Florida State? Whichever one of the two.
Florida.
Florida.
Yeah, Florida.
Right. And I was thinking, okay, this is a spot Pittsburgh should be able to show that they're battle hardened from last year and they're ready to come and contend. And ever since then, there it is, 86-71 they lost. Yeah, they beat Oregon State, but again, a loss against Missouri, then a loss against Clemson. I don't think Clemson's very good at sports lately here, and that's probably, football, we saw that as well, but their basketball team seems to be suspect too. I think this is a tough spot.
They're playing well right now, though, Clemson, a little bit. We'll see, though. They've done this before. The 9-0 starts and then slip, Yeah,
and then they get in conference and they start losing to NC State and they start, so they can't get out of their own way. But I like this fact that this number's inflated up to 4 now for West Virginia. Hell yeah, give me some West Virginia. I was thinking about that when it was a smaller number, and then I saw this 4, and I was like, I just don't think Pittsburgh's capable of covering this. So I am going to tell you on that one as well. I love the look. Give us that West Virginia plus 4 points. Let's keep it rolling, you guys. Hit that like button if you haven't done so yet. We're running the show here. We got 2 more looks for you guys on the college hardwood. Huge card lined up for us tonight. Let's get it rolling. Let's talk about this next spot we've got. And I believe let's jump into it because it's a play you have, and I just have a lean left on the card for us here. 10 p.m. The old late night special. CCR shining the light down on us. Our guy C-Max leading the charge. CS Fullerton, Pepperdine, -3 Pepperdine, now -4. We got 83% of the bets, 94% of the cash on Pepperdine. And we've got the total moved from 144 to 143.5. 82% of the bets on the over, but 70% of the cash on the under. Bigger bettors whacking at this under. C-Mac, take it away, my guy.
Let me answer Jay Peasy's question. It's a 1.5. I don't love it, but this is Houston. Like, if their A game comes, I think we're fine. Or unless they give up 100. And Houston's not that 100 team for the most part. It happens. Usually they score about 80 and they just hold teams down. So I don't love the 1.5, Peasy, but it is what it is. Let's get to this here. I looked at this. Yeah, I looked at this a ton. Real quick on the side. I thought it's come out a little bit too much here for Pepperdine, a team that can't stop anyone, and that's why I like this over. I don't know if they should be laying 4.5. And not that I love Fullerton, a team that struggles offensively and very average defensively, but Pepperdine, 355. I couldn't get over that. 48% field percentage. Like Fullerton, I think can get in the 70s, and Pepperdine. And I talked about Pepperdine. Fullerton's defense is, I think they're in the 70s. So when I saw the 143 in a Pepperdine game, I think we can get over this number. It might just creep, but I had to be on the over here, 143. And I lean Fullerton, a little bit, especially this has gone out to 4.5.
Here's the correlation effect that I like. You got the dog and the over, right? I always think those kind of two go together for me. And if you look at Pepperdine, all they've done is had overs. They got 4 overs in a row, and they're not overs like 135s. They're overs like 151, 155 and a half, 157. There is a 138 and a half out there.
That's when they don't score.
Right.
Like it's when they get shut down to like a 60 sometimes. So when I think something like that, and I saw that, I'm just like, I gotta rip this over.
Yeah, and on the flip side of things, is Fullerton going to go out there and shut it down? I mean, they could, but Fullerton's 3-1 to the over in their last 4 games as well. So I love that look. I'm always looking for some late night action too. For me, I know it's not late night for you. That's like dinner time for you right now. But for me, I'll be sitting there going, all right, how many cocktails have I had? How many more should I have? And I'm gonna jump on that as well. I love that 143. I love that it's come down now too. I think that's the spot where we can really capitalize on that thing. So I love the look, love the read. Last game I got for you guys here, I just looked at this Marquette spot. I don't even have an official play on it as of yet. I was debating. I wanted to hear what our guest and CMAC had to say for the card tonight, and that was going to kind of help me decide how much more action that I want to jump in on versus getting on the other side of it here. Interesting spot, Marquette in Texas, opened at 7.5, now sitting at 8 p.m. start. 77% of the bets, 77% of the cash on the Marquette side of things for a half a point of movement. 146.5 opening, 152.5, so 153.5 was 79% of the bets and 70% of the cash out there. Texas 6-1, Marquette 6-2. I wonder about the style and the matchup in this one here for me. I was looking at that 8. I wasn't necessarily scared. To me, we talked about the 5 earlier, CMAC, and maybe you can debate this with me here, but when the books are popping a 7.5 and an 8 out there, they're not telling me that this should be a tighter game by Texas. And I almost think that Texas, with the popularity of that school, is going to look at it and say, "Oh my gosh, we're getting 8 points." The loss that Marquette just had against Wisconsin, I'm going to discount that because Wisconsin just came out there and handled. Was that Michigan State yesterday that they just? I mean, start to finish. Yeah. They look really strong against. I mean, literally from start to finish, they were up double-digit points almost the entire game. So, I'll dismiss that. Plus, you had Marquette coming off of a pretty whirlwind tour. They beat up UCLA. They got Kansas. They lost to Purdue, but they only lost by 3, so it was a push out there. And now you're coming in and you're laying an 8 against Texas. That to me said something where, Texas plays Texas State. They played Wyoming. Okay. But when they had a test in UConn, they were getting 6.5. They lost by 10. So, push comes to shove for me. I was leaning on this Marquette side. I don't know if you have any thoughts to put the bow on this thing or not.
Yeah. This was tough for me because I don't know what Texas is really and how good they are. I saw the UConn game. I've seen some of these other ones, a little bit of the Rice and the Wyoming game. Some people think this is a bunch of points with Texas, and I get it. One thing with Marquette in those games, the defense was great. You talked about Kansas, UCLA. That has to be here, which It seems like after the couple losses, 2 out of the last 3 with Purdue and Wisconsin, they're back home. That comes to play, and they shoot the ball better. Mike, this is a team that relies on the 3, and they're 250. They're shooting 31%. We know when last year they were one of the top teams, as a team, like 38%, which is, is really good. They just haven't shot the 3 ball well. I think if those start to drop and their defense comes to play, this was a Marquette. It's just out here at 8, I lean to lay it, which is, wild. Normally I'm trying to grab points, but college basketball is certain spots. But I just had to keep it as a lean. I didn't pull the trigger. Yeah. And I kind of thought Marquette early. Some people think this is a ton of points, Texas first half, and it is 4.5. I don't know what we get from Marquette. I think at home you get them playing well early. I didn't want on my card in the end.
Yeah, I just I think with the other action that I've added, courtesy of your breakdowns there, that I'm gonna probably stay off of this one. I love to, college basketball is a little different for me because I do like to take some of those marquee matches. I want to watch good basketball. I don't want to watch
Oh yeah.
Podunk USA out there bricking everything. And unfortunately, with the geography that I live in, I see a lot of Niagara games more than I should. So I want to see a good matchup and enjoy the basketball game. But I think we got enough other spots tonight to get this thing done, C-Mac. So appreciate you joining us tonight, my guy. We got through the card. We're rocking and rolling. Season debut of Last Call for our guy, C-Mac. C-Mac, I love that you came on here. I know it's short notice. We'll get you prepped and ready next time. But, man, tell everyone what's cooking. I appreciate you coming on a ton. I know we got a big weekend ahead. What's going on? Where can everybody find you? What's the latest and greatest?
Just Connor Mac picks. And Saturday we'll be doing college basketball. I think we're going to continue it. We'll see if people like it. College football is ending, so we'll be there this week. I think I forget who it is, Illinois something. So
Tennessee, I think.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
There you go, Mike. This guy's on it. Hopefully he'll be there, but he's hungover. Don't worry about it. So yeah, Saturday. Other than that, we'll be back breaking down the bowl games here pretty soon. We need a little bit of time for get some of this news on these games. You get it out too early, it's just dust. So, but thanks for having me as always. Let's wrap it.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you much. Thank you, everybody in the chat, guys. Without you, we truly don't have a show. It means a ton. You guys came in here, spend this last call hour with us trying to get these plays right to get to the books. And shout out everybody that put their plays out there in the chat as well. We'll give you guys the rundown here. Cheshire Cat, Benjamin Mills, Cheshire, I already said you, Jay Peasy, Dana Delp. I read everything on the prompter. The chillest, Ian Charber out there, Jay Peasy, our guy. I see some scores. We got a Tampa score. We got a Florida score. Big O likes Nebraska Huskers team total under 75.5. Big O, thank you for sharing and dropping in. Christoph, thank you much. Lightning puck line, Denver Nuggets money line out of our guy. Like both of those looks. Dylon says hit that like button, guys. If you haven't done so already, please do so. Mike says Pitt. Brandon the Great, Chet Holmgren, 2+ blocks, Luca 10 rebounds, parlay plus 287. I love that you guys get creative with those prop parlays, man. I know you guys have been hitting those at a high rate in the chat as well. So shout out to everybody. We want to give everybody the recognition and appreciate you guys dropping in. Justin Villegas, Mike Trout looks like a different person this offseason. Hopefully he makes his way to the 215, guys. That's going to do it for us tonight. Shout out to T back there on the ones and twos. C-Mac making his debut tonight, guys. All that's left to do is pour a cocktail and get to the window. I hope everybody has great luck tonight cashing them tickets, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Same time, same place, Pub Sports Radio. Make sure if you haven't done so already, $4.99, become a member. Helps us a ton. Develop the infrastructure, build new shows, bring new winners on like our guy C-Mac, kicking ass, taking names. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Let's go, baby.
Yeah.